Okay, so I would like to invite Jeanette Roos from University of Education in Heidelberg. So,
I'll just say a few words because these are also. So I have to go slow to it. Okay. You can be on a seat there. Okay. To be more comfortable. Just a few words. Jeanette Roos and the other guests who will present their experience from their countries later. They were our guests in International Week, University of Primorska. We finished yesterday, and we discussed about the digitalization in preschool education specifically, but also in higher education. So Jeanette Roos she's coming from University of Heidelberg, and she's a developmental psychologist working with students in psychological issues, but also with preschool teachers in kindergarten and so on. And at the moment, she is her research interest is also digitalization in higher education at faculty. So she will a little bit present the experience in general in Germany.
So thank you very much for having me here and following me to speak. So digitization in universities is not my special subject, but I hold a professorship for developmental and educational psychology, as Sonja says, and as a professor I'm rather affected by it, and of course I deal with it and I read about it in order to be up to date and to better cope with the challenges associated with it. So I will try to outline in short the state of digitalization in higher education in Germany. Digitalization, as you know, is a major social transformation task that no one can escape. And digital competence is becoming increasingly relevant in every context, especially in workplaces. Therefore, higher education institutions are also facing increasing pressure to innovate their teaching and prepare future professionals for the digital age. For some time now, various political funding programs at federal and state level in Germany have addressed digitization of teaching at Germany higher education institutions. Starting in 2000, the Federal Ministry of Education and Research of Germany funded the program New Media in Education with a total volume of 185 million euro. And the aim of the funding line was to achieve a lasting and broad integration of new media as teaching, learning and communication tools into education. Numerous other funding programs followed since then until now. In Germany, as you have to know, education is primarily a matter of the 16 federal states, and that often is a problem. Furthermore, Germany is one of the world's few nations where freedom of research and teaching is enshrined in the basic law in the Germany's constitution. That means that professors are free to decide to what extent they integrate digital teaching and learning practices into their teaching. Not via Corona, there were pandemic regulations that overrode the law. Thus, the German higher education system is one of the most decentralized higher education systems in the world. Digitization is attributed a high priority at the universities in Germany. It is often anchored in programmatic documents such as higher education strategies, adopted as a university's own digitization strategy. But we also have universities with strategies in progress. In some cases, the strategy is also part of the target agreements with the federal state. These strategies differ a lot in broadness and depth. Also, the recognition of only teaching in the teaching load is regulated very differently depending on the federal state. In some federal states, such as North Rhine-Westphalia or Bavaria, the credibility of efforts to create and supervise digital teaching is limited to a maximum of 25% of the teaching load in order to prevent concerns about reduction in quality through e-learning. Other states, such as Lower Saxonia, do not impose such limits. Furthermore, learning and teaching methods such as blended learning, according to the flipped classroom, for example, approach, are currently not well reflected in the teaching load we have. For example, a professor in Germany has 9 hours per week to teach in summer and winter term, and so it is not going perfect with so flipped classroom and other things. In higher education and administration, and to some extent also in the teaching, many of the still authoritative digital technologies were and are being used and have become widespread. Some universities have been pushing ahead with digitalization and in administration, study and teaching for a few years now. IT systems have been installed at most higher education institutions for administration, teaching, as well as for research. Most higher education institutions have implemented campus management and learning management systems that support administration. For example, application management, enrollment, examination management. So, for example, registration for exam, grade management, and so on, as well as teaching itself. For example, registration of courses, information about courses, and administrations of course materials. But it was not until the COVID-19 pandemic in the spring of 2020 that higher education institutions widespread use of the digital media and tools in this exceptional situation in order to keep the study mode running. This has given digitalization in Germany an enormous boost, albeit characteristic by time pressure and a lot of improvisation. The short-term switch to virtual formats and solutions has revealed the potential of digitization on the one hand, but also major challenges, hurdles, and also limits. The Action Council in Education in Germany assesses the IT infrastructure at higher education in institutions as good overall, also due to various funding programs and state investments in the recent years. But almost 60% of the teachers rate the digital equipment at the universities as good, another 25% as satisfactory. Similarly, the equipment, but also the access to WLAN across different universities was already rated positively by students in 2014. Nevertheless, constant investment and the need for action are still diagnosed, for example, in the digital infrastructure or the integration of the various data and applications. The fact that students and teachers often use private digital devices, also by Corona, for teaching and learning also contributes to the good level of equipment. Yeah, we must see that. The German Council of Science and Humanities has published recommendations in digitization in teaching in 2022. The report points out a number of important areas that need to be addressed in the coming years. This includes better technical and financial resources for universities, more intensive use of open educational resources, new didactic concepts for teaching, and training for students and teachers. So, Digitization offers numerous opportunities for the further development of higher education. In teaching and studying, it can contribute to quality development and flexibilization. It offers the possibility of making higher education accessible to a larger group of people with digital teaching and learning offers. Studies can be made more individualized through the use of certain technologies, and in addition, it can be used to deepen internationalization and promote interdisciplinary cooperation. Some of the limits and risks of digitalization in teaching and learning should be taken into account. In the design, even interactive digital teaching learning formats cannot replace face-to-face encounters. The acquisition of social competences is not possible online in the same way as in presence. In addition, there are limits to scalability. Also, online events can be opened up to larger groups of people than face-to-face events, but discussions and social learning processes will still be easier to organize in person, and examinations will be easier to conduct on site. In order to balance the opportunities and limits of digitization in teaching and learning, the Council of Science and Humanities in Germany recommended that the following guiding principles be taken into account. First, promote innovation and creativity at the institutional and individual level. Take into account the diversity of subjects, disciplines, and types of higher education institutions. Ensure equal access to teaching and learning opportunities. Use the opportunities for cooperation in teaching in the area of services and also infrastructures, or in the continuing education of teachers. So the digitization is also feasible for smaller higher education institutions, for example. Provide also secure and reliable technology, and ensure legal certainty and provide information on the legal situation. This is always a big problem in Germany. The Council of Science and Humanities advocates the further development of studies with the help of digital elements, taking into account new subject didactics, insights, and the diversity of subjects. A more digital-oriented curriculum also requires adapted didactics, changes the role of us as teachers, and requires a different use of personnel and other resources. And at present, we can only guess to what extent artificial intelligence will affect us at the universities in future. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Jeanette. So maybe if there are some comments or questions, yes, please.
Faculty of Pharmacy. You mentioned this challenge of decentralization in German high school system. So that potentially leads to rather big differences in digitalization among institutions and among professors. So in your opinion, is it better to facilitate or support the best ones that can lead with their example, or to focus on the worst, the less digitalized ones to make some standard, or what would be your comment?
I think we have to find an equilibrium between both ends. Yeah, this would be best of. I do not think to underline one of these parts you mentioned. What do you think?
I'm not sure. I just want, from your experience, Germany being very individually organized system, what worked best, maybe, or if there are some good practices you could
I
share
don't
with
know
us.
exactly, maybe I have to think about that.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions?
So maybe what is, from your personal experience as a university teacher, you are not basically lecturing some topics that are directly using digital technologies. I think from your perspective, it's more important. Live sessions are more important. Discussions are more important, I guess. So,
Maybe
or
you can
not.
mix it up.
Yeah.
For lectures, for example, you can do that online with many people. Yeah. But if you have to do some interactive work with students and they have to interact, you will not able to do that online. For me, a mixture is good. Yeah. For me, also, it's very useful to have contact to colleagues all over the world and so on. But I think we have to carefully mix it. Yeah.
So what I wanted to ask you for.
And we have to prepare people. So maybe we have to have, as I mentioned, special didactics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do not know exactly how to deal with it. Therefore, I'm thankful for such possibilities like your project have. And we do not have so much in Germany. They throw us into cold water while Corona.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we have this content management system for years, yeah, but this is totally different. Yeah.
So more focus on this didactical and pedagogical
Yes.
approaches and how to use it
This
properly.
is necessary, and maybe then we are able to use it in a more interactive manner. I don't know. Yeah, but so while the Corona time, all our teaching was online. I felt everybody is doing anything. Many of the students I do not see. They do not have pictures. I talk to my computer. So I do not like that. Yeah, it's zero interactive. So I can give a lecture, and if someone wants to follow me, that's okay. But I need interactive things with my students, and I should have an idea what from that, what I'm telling them are in their minds and what they are doing with it. And yeah, that's only possible interactive. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much again.